Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Willcast. It's the podcast with the most creative name in the world. Thank you for tuning in, watching, viewing, subscribing, liking, commenting, all that good stuff. I appreciate that as always. Now, I do want to apologize right off the bat. You might be able to tell I'm a bit sick. My voice probably sounds a bit different. My nose is a bit stuffed. I am recovering from COVID. I had COVID earlier this week. Luckily, it was pretty mild symptoms. So I feel alright. But I am recovering a little bit from that, which is why I sound a bit weird. But nonetheless, we're gonna have an awesome conversation because I'm joined by Josh from the Shapeshifters Den today. How you doing, Josh?
We're doing great. Thanks for having me on. It's a real pleasure to be here. I'm excited about the conversation.
Me too, me too. I'm really excited. First and foremost, you run the YouTube channel, The Shapeshifters Den. Can you briefly describe what this YouTube channel is about?
Well, it's kind of funny because when I first started the channel, it was mostly just for fun. It was just kind of have an excuse to do some illustrations and to share some knowledge. And right now I'm a neuromuscular therapist and a trainer, so I just deal with the body all day, every day. So I really wanted to kind of share some of the things that I've been learning. But at first, I really didn't know what to call it. It was kind of an issue. I even switched it back and forth. I went with Shapeshifters Den right away, but I kept switching the subtext there, and it was. I think at one point it was the art of instinctive movement. I can't remember. I had a lot of things, but I was trying to put something into words I couldn't quite find the right words for. But a lot of it's just about this place where the mind and the body integrate to create movement, as opposed to just looking at movement from a standpoint of you've got a goal for, say, bench press.
Mm-hmm.
The goal is, let's say, 200 pounds, and you're just outwardly focusing on that goal. As opposed to that, this is more about the actual process of the movement itself, going inward, to know the body, know the mind, understand how they interact. Now, unfortunately, I really haven't gotten as deep into the channel as I wanted to. I get to it probably once a year for maybe a 2 or 3 month period when I've got some sort of an injury or something that's bought me some time, and then I get illustrating. But yeah, I'd really like to get to it more and really flesh the channel out. There's so much more I'd love to do with it. But
Yeah, I mean, it is noticeable that I think your earliest video was 5 years ago,
yeah,
and it's somewhere. I think your latest video was 9 months ago, maybe.
yeah, yeah.
So it is more of a passion project rather than something you want to or you're cranking out like once a week, say for example.
Now, I mean, I will say I would love to crank it out once a week, and if I can maneuver my lifestyle a little bit to where that's possible, I'll definitely jump in and start doing that. As of right now, time management is probably the biggest challenge in my
Mm.
life. You've got the family, you've got the career, and my creative pursuits.
Yeah, of course. And I think, I mean, just speculation, but your videos are probably a little bit more time consuming to make, hence like with all the drawings, maybe.
Oh, certainly. I mean, I don't know exactly how many hours goes into each one, but usually when I do a video, it's over the course of a couple weeks. I'll sit down any chance I get, do a little bit of work on it, go do some other things, come back, and yeah, usually it's a process of a week or two before a video gets out once I start.
Mm. How do you decide on what topic you want to make a video of?
I mean, honestly, it's usually just whatever's intriguing me at the time or something I've been working with at the time. I try to keep with things that are topical in my life, so I have a real genuine excitement and energy about it. There are some things I would love to get to that I experienced and went through years and years ago, but honestly, they're just not fresh anymore. I
Mm.
don't feel it the way I used to feel it. So maybe I'll get back around to those as the cycles of life come back around. But yeah, mostly it's just things I feel some excitement for.
Interesting, yeah. I think the first video I watched of yours, and probably the first video you made, I think, was the horse stance, on the
Oh
horse
yeah.
stance. Yeah, which I started recently doing the horse stance quite a bit because very interesting movement. Have you ever experienced pain in your hips when doing the horse stance?
Yeah, when I first started doing the horse stance, I really felt quite a bit of pain. It took me a little while to adjust to it. And a lot of it was just going inward and really focusing on the joints themselves, focusing on the musculature. A lot of times you'll get people whose pelvises are anteriorly rotated, so the pelvis itself dips forward.
Mm-hmm.
That can cause some pain. That can pinch off the femoral nerve in the front of the pelvis. There's a lot of things, but in general, you just want to change the tilt of the pelvis, tilt it back, tilt it forward, check the alignment of the spine. Everyone's slightly different, and you've got to find a position where your body feels good. Some people it's the leg width too. Some people they'll move 5 steps out. Some people move 7. I've seen some people do 9. There are different benefits to each, but in general, it's just about what's comfortable to you. And that's one of the benefits of the stance itself is you spend so long in the stance. I mean, at first, most people will do 30 seconds, but usually the buildup is to sometimes 5, 10. I mean, I've seen a few crazies go 20 minutes in it. So I haven't
That's
gone
crazy,
that far.
yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
But you learn a lot about your body when you're trying to make it do something like that just consistently, nonstop.
Mm-hmm.
The body will tell you if you're not in a good position real quickly.
Yeah. The reason I ask is because I find that I do get some hip pain in my when I do the horse stance. And interestingly enough, you said it's better to not have an anterior pelvic tilt when you do
Yeah,
it?
yeah, definitely.
Okay.
So the horse stance itself, compared to what we would consider neutral in terms of your posture, the pelvis in the horse stance is actually slightly posteriorly tilted. So it's kind of like a dog tucking its tail underneath.
Uh-huh.
Now you don't want this to be extreme. This is still just slight, and it is a little bit different for everybody. You'll kind of see when people have an anterior tilt, they kind of have that Instagram butt where
Yeah.
big arch in the back and the butt sticks out. So you're going to want to do the opposite of that during the horse stance. But again, it's not extreme. You don't want to tuck it all the way underneath.
That's what I've been doing. I've been actively really tucking it in, and that's when I find, because I thought that was what you were supposed to do, but that's not it?
It's a slight tuck, and you'll know. I would recommend for most people to start in possibly what they would consider neutral, and then start to tuck their pelvis under, go to the extreme, and then come back a few times and really explore that range. Because a lot of this is just understanding the joint itself, and a lot of this is mapping out, letting the brain map out all of its neurological control inside the joint. Because your brain keeps a map of the body. It keeps a neurological map of the body. It used to be called the homunculus. I don't know what they're calling it right now. But basically, it's the motor cortex of the brain. It has this map, and it expands the map and deepens the map based off of your conscious movement. So you have to be consciously aware of your movement to expand this. So a lot of people, even when you get people to alter the position, often they'll just say like, I'll just tuck my pelvis and now it's tucked. But they're not, gently exploring the different degrees of tuck and how it feels, and does it make them stronger? Does it make them weaker? Does it cause pain? How does the body feel in it? Because if something's out of whack, if the body feels uncomfortable, it feels that way on purpose. It's trying to tell you something.
Yeah.
The body's not conditioned to do that yet, or it's not the right position. But
I see. Okay. Very interesting. When did you get interested and fascinated about the body and the mechanics of it?
I mean, I've been fascinated for a long time, and I've gone through cycles of life where I've been fascinated for different reasons. I would say the main period of deepening my interest came as a teenager and in my early 20s. I was doing competitive amateur boxing from about 14 to 21, 22. And no matter how good I got, I kept injuring myself just over and over and over again. And I couldn't get deeply into the competitions. I tried to go to Golden Gloves. I'm not sure if you're aware of Golden Gloves, but it's just a large amateur tournament here in the United States. But twice I went there and I got injured early on and had to pull out. And it was devastating for me. And, in hindsight, I look back and a lot of it was just, my first passion was honestly illustration. I just loved to sketch and draw when I was a kid. That involved a lot of sitting on a couch, hunched over.
Yeah.
Destroying my posture, and then I would go do a contact sport as intense as boxing, and I just shredded my joints to pieces. So that was big for me. I wanted to figure out how to rehabilitate myself so I could keep moving because I just love to move. And I went through a lot of experts, chiropractors and massage therapists and doctors, and honestly, nobody was much of any help. So I was like, that's it. I'm going to figure it out myself. So, and now I just try to share that, get other people back to moving and enjoying life again.
That's awesome. Yeah. The body is so fascinating, like everything about it. As I mentioned to you right before we started the podcast, I recently got into, well, slightly, slowly but surely, into the anatomy of the body, how it works. I've been doing calisthenics for almost 7 years now.
Oh,
So that naturally led me to, I wanted to do more and know more about the body, how I can optimize the movements that I do to get stronger and more healthy. It's so fascinating. There's so much to it, so much to the body.
it's incredibly deep, honestly. The every time I think I've become an expert on the body, I run into some new information, and I've just gotten to the point I've realized that the pile of what I don't know is always going to be so much bigger than the pile of what I do know.
Yeah.
So, but it's exciting that way. There's always something new to learn.
It's really cool that with what you said, that your first passion was artistry and that you can now combine your two passions into one project with the YouTube channel.
Yeah, honestly, life got busy, and I kept thinking, man, I would really love to do more illustration, and I would love to share all these things I'm learning about the body. And this was just an idea that came up to try to do, kill two birds with one stone.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been a lot of fun. I really enjoy the channel. I'd love to expand it, honestly. There's so much more I'd love to put on it, so much more to say. And
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It is. It's fun to watch, and it's very unique. I mean, your drawing style is. I have seen fitness YouTube channels with the drawing, but your drawing style is just different and unique. It's like, I wouldn't say cave paintings, but what is it? Maybe Roman drawings, like with the posters you've made.
yeah, I don't know what it was, but when I was a kid, I had seen a poster that had a similar look to the channel. It had this old parchment look, and it was so long ago,
Yes.
I can't remember. I can't remember if that was a purposeful look that it was designed as, or if it was just a really old poster. But it was this infographic on how to do certain weightlifting movements. I can't remember what it was: squat, deadlift, something like this. To this day, I mean, I was probably 8 years old when I had seen that. I haven't seen the poster again since. But I just remember thinking it was the coolest thing I'd ever seen in my life back then, and that's stuck with me ever since. And I mean, I'm copying someone's style. I don't know who it is. It's somebody from about 25 years ago. I'm
Yeah.
copying their style. I'm sorry if you're watching this. I don't know who you are.
Maybe they'll come back for you one day.
They might. I'll cut them off a little check.
Yeah, that's
It's a
cool.
beautiful style.
It's very cool. I really like the drawing style, and it's also for a lot of people. I think it's a lot of people find it hard to learn and educate themselves, and I think the drawings really draw people in.
Yeah, it's we live in a really busy world nowadays. Everybody's busy, busy, busy. Um, I myself have trouble with it, and there's a lot of things I had to learn the hard way, and it was only hard in the sense that time is short and these things took time. Like I said, I went to a lot of experts or people who call themselves experts, and they really didn't seem to be able to help me, or at least were unwilling to help me. Maybe they were unwilling to share their expertise.
Mm.
So I had to go dive into books, and some of these books are 300, 400, 500 pages long with no pictures. And in a busy life, that is an undertaking.
Yeah,
So when it came to the art, I thought it was a good opportunity to try to condense some of these things that I had learned from 300 pages down to 2 or 3 drawings. And I found it's actually not that hard to do. Honestly, I'm shocked more people haven't done it.
yeah. But it's also good because you can visualize it instead of, as you said, a book without pictures. You have to write so many words to explain what a movement looks like. But with a picture, you could really, like, literally show it what it looks like, right?
Yeah, you can show it, and of course, there's still some limitations with the pictures. Like, of course, video. If I took video of myself doing a squat, it would probably be easier to tell what's happening than in the photos. But I'm sorry, in the illustrations. The one thing I did like about illustrations, and it kind of goes back to the whole shapeshifter idea, is that when I illustrate, I always imagine that movement is a shift from one shape to another.
Interesting. Yeah.
So you start for a squat, you start in a normal stance with feet shoulder width apart. That's one position. That's one shape. And now you have to get down to the resting position in the bottom of the squat. And in between there, you just have to have a nice, steady, clean movement that feels good on the body. So I like to show these different positions and then apply the movement.
Yeah.
And then I don't know if this happens, but in my mind, I imagine it invites people to explore the shift between the two shapes. Not only do they have to find the individual shapes, but they have to explore the movement between them.
It does, yeah. It does, definitely. No, you're right. What does your fitness routine look like?
It does change probably once every 6 months or so. I like to keep things kind of coming in and out, but some of the things that are always consistent is a lot of calisthenics. Um, Definitely a lot of martial arts type movements. Even if I back off completely from the martial arts, I'm still always hitting a punching bag, kicking a punching bag. I still do a lot of jump rope as cardio just from the boxing days. I find it easy and fun. Um, Lately, I would say the past 3 or 4 years, I've been doing a lot of, I don't know, a lot of people call them natural movements, things like pulling a sled with a rope or
Nice.
climbing trees. I went through a parkour phase for a while, and
Oh,
I found
cool.
that was a lot of fun, but I really enjoy doing it in nature.
Yeah.
And as soon as you try to, parkour in nature, what you find is you're just moving naturally.
Mm-hmm.
You're moving like you would move had you been born in the Amazon or in an African tribe.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It is interesting how I feel like, at least for me, and I think a lot of people find it this way, that the more, as you said, the more natural you go in like training, the more fun it is. As versus staying in a gym with lifting a weight.
Yeah, and I don't necessarily have anything against lifting weights, but I will say that when people do calisthenics or what is usually called natural movements, well, calisthenics in particular, you get to move the body first before you try to move something external. Because I find a lot of people jump into weightlifting and they don't even know how to operate their own body yet. So they tend to get injured lifting these weights. But if you start with calisthenics or you start with natural movements, you're going to learn to operate your body well. Even even in nature as a child, as an infant, we build up our movement capacity. It starts with just almost doing like a curl. You see babies, they curl their knees up and
Yeah.
they curl up into a ball. They do that for a while, then eventually they try to turn. Once they can get onto their stomach, they try to push themselves up. Then they start crawling and they start building connection between the core and the extremities. And that's all to prepare the body to stand upright. Well, now once you stand upright, the human body is designed for an incredible amount of variety of movement. We have shoulders that can just move in such an incredible range of motion. We can do so many things. But a lot of people never explore this. They never fine tune the brain and the body. They never calibrate them.
Mm,
So, and I think a lot of natural movement is just exploring the body at body weight. And
yeah.
these natural movements just seem to come out eventually.
So what is your purpose, I guess, for training and for fitness? Is it strength, for your physique, or to have fun, for knowledge maybe?
I would say there's a few main purposes I focus on. I've never been too big into aesthetics. If you train, a lot of times some level of aesthetics comes, which is great. It's kind of like icing on the cake.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, a lot of times it's a bit of a mental therapy. If I can't move a lot, I start to get really anxious. I probably start getting a little short with people. I don't know. I've been told that from time to time. You got to move and get some energy out. And also, I love to explore the human condition. I mean, people do all sorts of things, and especially with the internet nowadays, you can witness people from all around the world doing a million different things. But there's a few things that everyone has in common. They all have a mind. They all have a body. Absolutely everybody. And I'm fascinated by this. Why are we here? What are we doing here?
Mm-hmm.
I seem to be, as you seem to be, a conscious entity. So why is this conscious entity in this body, in this physical space? And that seems like it's really far removed from calisthenics and training and all this. But calisthenics and weightlifting and movements and parkour, all of this stuff is just an exploration of what it is to be human.
Yeah.
Humans think, humans feel, and humans move. That's what we do. And so I like to take some time out of my day in a quiet, nice space, and I like to really deeply explore this. And I found it really helps me in life because, perfecting your movement also becomes perfecting your behavior. It
Mm.
becomes perfecting your character because character is nothing but long-term behavior, and behavior is nothing but a series of actions, and actions is nothing but human movement. And the movement comes from your mind.
Yeah.
You choose how to move.
It's a very interesting way to look at it.
Yeah.
I think especially like working out and moving is very important for everybody. Also because of the discipline, as you said, the behavior you learn from moving, but the discipline you get from working out, it shapes you as a human being outside of your workout.
Excuse me. No, 100%. I mean, if you honestly make, no matter what type of training you do, if you make it a practice, the same was true of my art and my illustration. It became a practice. I wanted to learn how to perfect or how to master this illustration practice. But to do that, I have to master myself, because the thing that is doing the illustration is me.
Yeah.
It's my mind imagining what's going to be illustrated, and it's my body trying to match what I see in my mind, which takes a lot of mind-body calibration. It takes a lot of building up my nervous system in my hands and teaching them how to make lines in certain ways. But it's all just me. You know, I mean, this podcast, this is you. Everything you create is you. You consciously chose to create this, and you're moving your body to make it happen.
It's a very cool way to look at it.
Yeah, and I'm sure you're mastering so many aspects of your life. And what I found is that if you can see it this way, the progress is much faster than if you don't see it this way and you're just doing it unconsciously. Most people go through life very unconscious. They just react.
Yeah.
And the body and mind is designed so that we can do that. There's been a meme lately I've seen, NPCs. You know, they
Yeah.
call people NPCs.
Mm-hmm.
All that is you're just not consciously thinking about what you're creating.
Yeah.
What do you create with your thoughts? What do you create with your body? What do you create with your emotions? If you're thinking about this, you are a conscious creator of your own life.
Yeah.
If you're not thinking about this, you're reacting, and I guess now you're called an NPC. This is what my son tells me.
That's funny.
He keeps me up to date on all the memes.
Do you think there are some people that just literally don't have the capacity to be as conscious as other people?
It's difficult to say. I've obviously never been inside another person's body or mind.
Yeah.
I will say that I've worked with a lot of athletes, and a lot of these athletes started off being very unconscious in their practice. They were much more goal oriented in the sense that whether it was boxing or bench press, you know, they would think about bench pressing the 200 pounds. They would think about knocking this guy out that's on the opposite side of the ring. But they were all able to change and go inward and start to think about the process of how that happens. You know, what do I have to do with my shoulder joints and my shoulder blades? What does my chest have to do? What mind state can I put myself in that is the most advantageous to the bench press? What mind state can I actually put myself in that is most advantageous to a boxing match? And I've found that once you turn everybody's attention to that, because the outside world is it's glamorous in a sense. It really piques our attention.
Yeah.
I mean, even in this room, there's colors everywhere. There's smells. There's, you know, I see you here. I'm talking to this interesting guy from another country. This all really grabs my attention. But to go inward and use your feeling sense and feel yourself and pay attention to your thoughts, this is the inner journey that is often called like mysticism or metaphysics. It's been done for thousands and thousands of years. But this is more difficult for people, but it's only because they haven't done it in my experience. As soon as you start to turn someone's mind, their focus inward, usually they start unfolding right in front of themselves really quickly, and it becomes very easy. Now, I will say a lot of people, the biggest problem I find is people are scared. There is a large unconscious fear of going inward, of knowing exactly who you are. A lot of people are terrified of who they are.
Yeah.
I was like this when I was young. I had a somewhat rough childhood, and you know that kind of rubs off on you. And I have a brother who's 1 year younger than me. So you know we're so close in age. We were very competitive, and both of us were living a stressful childhood. And we took it out on each other. Especially once I hit puberty, 12, 13 years old, I started getting testosterone, and out of nowhere, I was so aggressive. And my brother and I getting into arguments and wrestling around turned into punches and kneeing each other. Oh, it was terrible. But I felt like I was losing control of myself. And so real quickly, I had to start discovering, how do I get control of this? How do I rein this in? Because I don't want to do this. But, when my brother irritates me, there's a reaction inside.
Yeah.
And that reaction was possessing me in some sense. So I real quickly had to gain control of that. I had to go inwards and see myself for what I am. And I, just like everybody, I'm convinced, has the capacity for violence, aggression, greed, jealousy. It's in everybody. We all can do it. So that scares a lot of people. A lot of people are also scared that they're just not good enough. They think they get whatever they have in their head, they get some sort of goal. I want to get the girl. There's some girl I want, but she'll never like me if she knows how nerdy I am, if she knows how weak I am. They're terrified to look in. They're terrified of what they might find.
Mm-hmm.
But with this inner philosophy, the greatest thing is once you get past that and you go inwards and you really start to know who you are, it gives you conscious choice. It doesn't matter what you think, what you feel, what's going on the inside. You can choose. You can choose from this wide range of possibilities that exist within you. Yeah.
So
I'm a little carried away there.
no. I agree with you 100%. But the problem is, how do you go inward and become conscious like that? I think that's probably the hardest part. I think a lot of, well, I wouldn't say a lot of people necessarily know this, but as you said, I think a lot of people are scared to go inwards and become conscious, to take control.
Yeah, 100%. A lot of it's fear, but of course, a lot of people just don't know. The thought has never occurred to them, and it's not popular in our culture. Now, I find the images of it can be somewhat popular. Like, we see images of kung fu masters, or we see ninjas in the movies doing things that seem all nearly superhuman. And, how do they do that? They spent a long time going inwards and mastering the self. And you're seeing the outer expression of that, what happened. So a lot of people idolize this without even knowing what it is. They assume that these people got this way. They got to some level of mastery just by focusing on becoming a ninja, But becoming ninja, becoming an amazing parkour athlete takes going inwards and knowing how to move the body and all these things we've talked about. But to do this, in the beginning, it's almost always the same process. And it's been the same for, as far as I can tell, for thousands of years. Like, I go back into history all the time. I love ancient history because you find this inward journey written about. You find it in pictures and symbols all over the place, every country in the world I've ever looked. And it always seems to be the same. You have to take time, and you've got to make space, and you have to be quiet. Especially in the beginning, close your eyes. Get rid of the outer stimulus. Stop, close your eyes. A lot of people might call this in the beginning meditation. Meditation doesn't necessarily have to be sitting still. It can still be movement. I constantly consider my movement a meditation. My training is a meditation. But in the beginning, you've got to close your eyes. It works if you can even plug the ears. Get rid of all outer distractions, because at first, almost everyone in the world is trained to pay attention to what is outside them. You're already, so you have to shut all that out and then start to go inward. A lot of people in the beginning will focus on their breathing. Once you plug your ears, once you close your eyes, you go inward and you start to pay attention to your breath, because the breath is a movement that is inside the body, and it will create ripples of pressure that move in and out of the body. They're real subtle, but if you start focusing on them, those ripples of pressure, when you inhale, now that inhale is creating pressure inside the body that moves all the way through the core. And then you exhale. Now you're releasing pressure. But if you tune into this, you will get a physical feeling sensation of your entire inner body. You'll really start to tune into the feeling sense. And this is usually the beginning. And I find this is usually the first thing I teach. And then I'll move people into the actual movements. I'll get them in a meditative place, shut out the outside world, get them to learn how to focus inward on their feeling sense, and now have them move, because now they're starting to feel their joints. They're starting to feel their muscles. Eventually you start to feel the tendons. I'm to the point now, I know the difference when I move between the feeling of my ligaments, my tendons, my muscles, my lungs, my internal organs. And it took time. But yeah, it's just turning your attention inwards, getting rid of the outside distractions.
Such a fascinating topic, and I think we could talk for hours about this, and I would love to, so we have to do this again sometime.
I would love to do this again. It'd be my pleasure.
It was such a pleasure, Josh. Go ahead, plug anything.
I'm sorry?
Go ahead and plug anything you want, your YouTube channel, where can people find you?
Well, I did have a website. I took it down. I'm going to redo the website and put that back up. But right now, the best place to find me is on Shapeshifters Den, the YouTube channel. Also, if you're ever in East Tennessee, you can come to Athletic Restoration. It's where I work. Great place. We do a lot of corrective exercise, a lot of manual therapy. Helping people get back to helping athletes in particular, but pretty much anybody get back to doing what they love, getting the body in top, tip top shape. So
Awesome.
yeah,
I love that. Thank you so much for coming on, Josh. It was such a pleasure.
it's been a pleasure.
And to the viewers, thank you for tuning in, commenting, liking, subscribing, listening, all that good stuff that I appreciate. See you next time. Peace.